Reggae interviews. Word sound power.
We are here in London with Welsh singer, songwriter and radio presenter Aleighcia Scott, who released her debut album back in September, Windrush Baby. It's not just an ordinary album, but a real masterclass, paying homage to the sounds that inspired the Windrush generation here in the UK during the 70s and 80s. It is great to see you once again.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Good.
How are you?
I'm really good, thank you.
Good. Do you know what I was thinking about this, right? We've met quite a few times, and this is the very first time that we've met on British soil.
Oh, yeah. I feel like I've seen you so many times. Yeah, it has always been in Jamaica. So, yeah, I wonder why I felt a bit extra cold today. Yeah, because usually it's a warmer climate. That's why. Yeah,
exactly. And there's no sort of like horns blaring and things like that, in the background and things. But we're here in the UK anyway, so it kind of feels weird actually talking to you here. We're here talking to you about your debut album. We want to kind of know about that musical journey, because we first heard about your talents through the R&B covers, really through social media.
Yeah.
Really got to know your sort of music through the Forever in Love EP with Chris Peckings, and then together with RoryStoneLove, you've created this really stunning debut album, Windrush Baby.
Thank you.
What a journey it's been.
Yeah, it's definitely been a journey, and all those things you've mentioned, there's definitely been things to learn along the way, and just really great experiences for sure.
You must be feeling super proud of your achievements, because I feel as though so much has happened in your life in a relatively short space of time.
I'm a bit of a person where I always feel like I need to do more, so I never really take the time to feel like, oh wow, we did this. It's like, okay, we did this and we must work on the next part. So I'm just keeping going. Really. Yeah,
and I guess it's sometimes it's good to be like that, in terms of like always trying to strive forwards, but then from time to time it's good to sort of reflect back on your achievements as well.
Yeah, every now and again I make like a little list to myself of like, okay, what have we achieved in the last couple of weeks or couple of months, and it's often a nice list, which is good. That's good.
Let's home in on this new album. You have been teasing us for way too long with this new album. I think it's a journey that began probably around about 5 years ago via a message on social media from RoryStoneLove.
Yeah, 5, maybe even 6 years ago. I had a message from Rory. He'd seen some of the stuff I'd posted online, some of my live performances, and it was before the EP with Peckings had come out, but we were working on it, so nobody had heard any of that stuff yet. And he said, I really want to do some work with you, but you would have to come to Jamaica. So I said, okay, see you in 2 weeks. And I went to stay with my auntie, and we just got in the studio.
Wow, so you literally just like got on a plane, flew from Wales over to Jamaica, and just landed at Rory's studio.
Yeah, well, I had to fly from London because there's no flights from Wales to Jamaica, so if we can make that happen, that would be wonderful. So I had to fly from London to Kingston, and we literally just hit the ground running from there.
Yeah. Now, I know that you've got a family background in Jamaica, but was this the first time you went to Jamaica?
No, it wasn't the first time. It was the first time I'd gone to Kingston, I just went there, and I love it. Yeah.
What were your first impressions of Kingston? Because I remember when I sort of look back on my very first sort of like journey into Kingston back in 2000, I was like blown away. I was like, wow.
Exactly the same. To me, it always just seems so electric. For me, growing up in Wales, but being a part of Jamaican culture and going there and seeing everything I've learned in my life live in the flesh is a really beautiful experience. And when I'm in Wales, I miss Jamaica. When I'm in Jamaica, I miss Wales. So I like to be in both.
Yeah. So you jumped on that plane, flew into Kingston.
Yes.
And then you touched base with Rory and said, I'm here.
Yeah.
What was his response?
And he was like, what? I was like, yeah, you said you wanted to do some work, so let's do some work. And I don't think he thought I was serious when I said I was coming until I actually was there. He just couldn't. Even now, he's like, every conversation with people who said, oh, I can't believe you did that, he's like, neither can I. But I'm like, yeah, if you want to do it, you do it.
Wow. I don't normally say this, but from the moment that you released the first single, we knew that something very special was brewing. Talk us through that journey of actually sort of like making first contact, meeting Rory, sort of vibing about working together. How did it all sort of come together?
So Rory is a legend of sound system, and I'd already heard his productions with Jan 9, Samurai, the stuff he was making. So for me, I knew it'd be something special. I love writing, so to be able to work with Rory in that capacity and work with the team that Rory has, amazing musicians, amazing writers, it was a really beautiful experience. It helped me as an artist as well to come out of my shell even more, as I was trying new things in such a safe space. So that's why some of the songs on the album, people are like, I've never heard you sing like this. You're rapping on the album, I never heard that. And I'm like, it's always in there. I just needed the little bit of encouragement for it to come out. But yeah, it's just a really lovely experience. And I remember when he first messaged me running downstairs, I said to my dad, RoryStoneLove just messaged me. And my dad was like, what? I'm like, I'm going to Kingston. And my mum and dad are so used to me now with like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. They're like, yeah, they're so supportive. And they always know me. I'll always find a way to make something happen. It's just what the journey might be within that. But yeah, from the word go, it was a great experience. In the first 18 months, we had a whole album done. The first ever song I wrote was Maybe, and I wrote that on the plane going to Kingston for the first time. And then the second one was This Way, which we did release, but slightly different to how I originally wrote it. But because they were the first two tracks, that was the bar set the precedence.
Okay.
And then we had a whole album, and after 18 months, me and Rory were like, all the other songs don't hit the same as the first two we did. We'd made that level for ourselves, and now everything that came after that had to match. So we scrapped the whole thing and started again and just kept those two songs.
Oh, wow. Didn't know that.
Yeah. So, yeah, in 18 months we had a whole album, and then when we listened back, we were like, we wanted each song on the album to be a standalone single by itself, and because the rest that we had didn't match the first two, we just went back to the drawing board.
Wow. And I guess that somebody like Rory, I don't feel that he's kind of like a producer that just wants to work with an artist just for like a one-off single. So I guess that he had an intention that it's got to be a project, an EP, an album or something.
Yeah, I think that was just it from the get-go, really. We both knew it had to be some kind of body of work, and we both just put our whole selves into it.
Yeah. Now, on the album, which has 10 tracks, whose idea was it to cover the only one cover version on the song, Do You?
Rory. So I went into the studio and Do You, John Holt's version, was playing, and he was like, sit down, listen to this. I was like, okay. Close my eyes. I was like, yeah, this is wicked, the strings, everything. And I love John Holt anyway, and he was like, do we agree this will be the only cover on the album? If it's going to be a cover, do you think it's this? And I was like, is this?
This is it.
Yeah, and Rory has created a masterpiece just on rhythms alone, and all the musicians. Yeah, and then I get to hear layer by layer. So every time there was a new layer and a new set of strings and then a new set of strings, it was just beautiful, and I think I cried every time I heard a different version.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And the instrumentation on the whole album is really stunning, but in particular, Do You? I love the orchestra. How did that come about?
So Rory, like I said, is a genius when it comes to musicality, and obviously being a huge name in sound system and as a selector, he knows what he wants to hear. He knows within the first 20 seconds if a song is going to be a good song. He knows. And sometimes even with ideas in the studio, first 20 seconds, no, because he knows how that's going to go in a dance. He knows straight away. And I understand his ear for that. So yeah. With the strings, I think because we wanted it on the original so much, we had to do it properly. Either do it properly or don't do it at all, you know? So he's like, I can hear this on there, I can hear this on there. And then we had the strings added on.
And created magic.
Yeah.
The album itself, it's got some really eye-catching artwork, and I want you to share with our viewers a little bit behind that photograph, because I believe that little photograph is yourself.
No, it's not.
It's not?
It's
okay.
not. It's my gran.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, and I look so much like my gran, so everyone thinks I've kind of like superimposed a photo on.
Okay.
But obviously the album title's Windrush Baby, and my grandparents came from Jamaica to Wales as part of the Windrush generation. So that's why it's so important for us, for the album, to honour that. And so the photo is not long after my grandparents had come to Wales. I think my uncle was getting christened at the time, so it's my gran and my uncle is the baby in the photo. But everyone thinks it's me because we look so alike, the genes are so strong.
Okay. I mean, you just touched on the Windrush generation. Obviously, this year we are celebrating 75 years
Yes.
from the arrival of Empire Windrush in June 1948. As somebody that has got dual heritage, I guess that, you know, the album itself has got like a more deep personal meaning to you because it's really embracing that lovers rock sound that was really sort of created in the 70s and 80s here in the UK.
Yeah, I feel like the Windrush generation don't get the props they deserve. So they came from the West, predominantly the West Indies, to the UK and brought so much culture, so much live food, music, so many things. And of course, then now stemmed lovers rock. So it's a massive part of my upbringing and everything I know. So it was so important for us, and even Rory the same. He stems from a similar thing to me. And it was important for us to honour that and honour the greats in reggae that came before us as well, Windrush and reggae and everything that involves.
Yeah. And I think that I think I'm right in saying this, but I think that Rory actually grew up in South London as well. So obviously, you know, he was sort of living and embracing those sounds as a youth.
Yeah, so for him, he was there in this time and it was big part of everything he is as a selector, as a person. So again, we just wanted to honour it as much as possible.
Yeah. Two of my faves at the moment, and I do have to say it keeps changing from sort of like week to week, are Maybe and First Love. I really just love the instrumentation in particular on both of those songs. It's just very royal, regal. Yeah,
I think Maybe was because Maybe was the first song I ever wrote for the album, so it kind of held that like this is my baby because this is where it started kind of thing. But my favourite changes quite often as well, but Maybe's always up in that list. I think it's because of like the emotional connection with that as well.
Yeah. Now I know that you sort of like touched on, you know, Rory sort of like, you know, working with what I'm going to call like the creme de la creme of musicians. So, you know, we're talking of people like Kirkle Dove, Danny Basie, the late Gizmo, Bobla. Did you get a chance to actually sort of work with the musicians when the rhythms were being created?
Yes and no. So for a little bit of I was in the studios. I know for some of it we did sessions in Anchor, which was actually wild to be in. Like, so obviously like reggae's been my whole life, and you hear the stories of these places and then you get to go there and actually be making music in these places. It's crazy, and with such amazing names like you've mentioned, and it's a beautiful thing to be a part of. But also for me it meant I had to step my game up, and you have to just be on job, as people would say. Like you've really got to do it. It's just even now, like I still don't think I'm over it. Like, wow, we had this experience.
Did that really happen?
It really happened.
Yeah. You also recorded the video to Do You at the legendary Anchor studio as well, didn't you?
Yeah, so Tizzy Tokyo, she shot and edited the video, and when we were thinking of video ideas, and I was like, I just think it's so important to honour Anchor Studio and everything they are, and honour obviously the song and the roots of the song. So I said, what about Anchor Studio? And we all just said, yeah.
Good. In terms of other musicians, there's two names that I want to ask you about, because I keep hearing these two names sort of like cropping up more and more as I'm listening to music. One of those names is Akil McIntyre, who plays the trumpet, and Shane Love, who plays the saxophone. Tell us a little bit about working with those two guys.
So when they were creating for the album, I didn't actually get to be with them while they were doing that, but I've seen them live a few times. And a few years ago when I was in Kingston, Rasai was performing with them. They were as part of his band setup, and I remember standing there thinking, what? Who are these people? I think they had maybe just come fresh from Edna Manley, I think, at the time, and they were kind of, to me, new to the scene, and I was like, wow, these guys are so talented. And I said to Rory, I was like, Rory, I took videos and I was like, Rory, we got to work with these people, listen to this. And now I see the name everywhere, and they so deserve it. They're amazing.
Yeah. We've obviously got, you know, the master himself, Mr. Fraser.
Yes.
As well. What a legend.
What a legend. Again, like even as I'm sat here, I can't believe that's what we have in the project. It's so amazing.
Yeah. In contrast to the Lovers Rock vibes of singles that we've spoken about, like Maybe and First Love, we discover a different side to Aleighcia Scott in singles like Hey World and the really sort of dubby Mr. Big Shot.
Yeah. I think for us, it was just important to tell stories within this album. Dave, as Tourman, as Rory would, Dave Clark, Tourman Rory would call him, came to us with Mr. Big Shot, and we were just all sat in the studio and were like, what a wicked piece of song. So then we kind of etched it together in the story, and it became Mr. Big Shot. And I just think it's really important to be saying these words in these times, you know. And Mikey Bennett came with Hey World, and then we sat and hashed that out as well. And Mikey Bennett is a legend, again, another one to add to the group. But
In terms of the video releases, obviously you've just recently released the latest video, which was Mr. Big Shot.
Yes.
Hey World, I mean, it talks about some really sort of like, I think, important topics that I think we all have to have accountability or responsibility for. What sort of projects are you involved with yourself in terms of, you know, what you're doing for the betterment of the human race?
Yeah, so there's a few different things I'm involved in and yet to be involved in. I eventually want to create a charity. So I've started, so in lockdown we were shipping barrels of PPE equipment across from Wales to Jamaica through the South Wales Jamaican Society. And I want to continue that. I want to work on sanitary projects for young girls in schools in Jamaica and make it global, but starting with Jamaica, so that's never an issue. There's always something available. I'm also the youth ambassador for Keep Wales Tidy, because that's really important, betterment and just keeping it preserved and keeping it nice, so we got sustainability and stuff going on. There's so much more I want to do, but yeah, that's the start.
That's the start. Okay, let's talk a little bit about actually, you know, working with Rory. Now, you know, whenever the name Rory is mentioned, it's always the iconic Rory, the legend, and you've used that as well, you know, in our reasoning today. You know, Rory's a legend. What is it about Rory that gives him such accolades? You know, you've had a lot of time sort of working very closely with him.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, and you know, why do you feel that people sort of, you know, put that title before his name?
I think with Rory there's just a level, and you know that, and everybody knows that, so you respect that within writing, within musicality, within songs that he'll select, songs he'll play, songs that he enjoys. Even that's just a level. So I think, yeah, you just know quality when it comes to Rory and his name.
And I feel that, you know, Rory's sort of like very much a focused person in terms of, like, you know, you've already said that, you know, he kind of knows within 20 seconds whether or not he wants to proceed with making that song or not.
Yeah.
There must be some stories that you can share that your face just gives it away there, doesn't it? There are some stories behind the scenes of, you know, things that have probably happened in the making of Windrush Baby.
I think overall it's been a great process. I've definitely learned so much working with Rory, as an artist, as a person. And I think with Rory, it's no messing. We came to do what we're going to do, and we're going to do it, you know?
Yep.
Again, there's a level to attain, and Rory wants to maintain that level at all times, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, and as I said, he's a genius, so he hears things before you even know it's a thing, and then you create and you work on it, and he takes it to another level. Even down to like spacing. Before I started working with Rory, I want to fill the gaps, because I don't know if there should be a gap there, and he's like, no, leave the space. And then a song just becomes something completely different to what it was, and you're like, wow. So now as an artist, I always think about the space, and how beautiful it is just to have the instrumental rhythm just there, and then you hear the full musicality of a song. We had to figure out some of the songs that maybe Rory didn't want on the album, but I did, and vice versa. Okay. But we got there.
You got there.
Yeah.
Okay. Were there any like particular sort of like, you know, songs that you really had like this strong sort of like connection with, that you felt, no, Rory, this song has got to be on the album, and he said nah?
So I think we were getting near to the completion of the album, and we were like, maybe we'll just make a couple more songs. So Rory, I was writing with Aleighcia Ellis, and Rory was like, okay, you two go off and write a song. It can be about anything. So we went off, wrote a song, came back in. He was like, nah, not that. Okay, right, okay. So then Aleighcia went this way, I went this way, and we just started writing something together. And I was like, Keith, what do you think about this? So then we played with that song, and I was like, I love this song so much. And the song, sometimes as a writer, when you write something, it just literally comes straight from the heart. And the song was My Love, which is the last song on the album.
Okay.
And even now when I hear that song, it's just something like an emotional connection to me that I can just cry at any moment if I hear it, or if I sing it live. It could happen. And I took it to Rory, and he was like, nope, don't like it. I was like, what, Rory? I just cried in the studio. I love this song. And he was like, no, I can't hear it. I just can't hear it on the album. I don't like the song. And then Mikey Bennett came in the studio and was like, play the song. Mikey Bennett, wicked song, I love this. Rory was like, yeah, it's going on the album. So then, yeah, it went on the album.
So it's on the album. Track 10.
Track 10, final song of the album.
It sounds like you've had like a really sort of like great journey, you know, and
Definitely.
I know that, you know, you've told us that you had an album ready in 18 months. Mm-hmm. On reflection, do you feel that it was the right thing to actually hold back and to go back to the drawing board?
100%, because after that 18 months, 8 of those songs are brand new that hadn't even been thought about, and I can't see the album now without those 8 songs.
Okay.
So I then had time to learn from what we had created that we didn't use. I'd learned from the process of doing those, and then it was a whole fresh energy, fresh mindset. Okay, we know what we're doing now. Let's go.
And obviously, you know, I know that you've been going back and forth to Jamaica for the last few years.
Yeah.
And obviously, every time when you go to Jamaica, you meet someone new and things, and that's also sort of like resulted in some work with Kongs as well, hasn't it, over the years? Yeah,
Kongs is great. Again, another amazing person in musicality and lovely to work with. So Kongs has an idea. And I said, I think I can hear your voice on this. I'd met him a couple of times, like within the music scene, and he emailed me the idea for I Want You, and it happened. So, and it worked so well. If it sounds nice, you have to do it twice. So we put I Want You, and then we did Cry.
Perfect. Now, in terms of like, you know, sort of like things like live performances and plans for the future, what is in store for the rest of 2023 and 24?
Lots. So for 2023, the rest of the year, more promotion of the album and just trying to get the album to as many places as possible, and setting up for a tour. We've got a few spot shows this year, but next year we're going to be touring the album. We've got some plans for the US and a UK tour as well. Here, there, everywhere, and just keep making great music.
Yeah, and I almost sort of feel that we're getting a little bit of a taste of what Aleighcia Scott live would sound like, because when I sort of look at the album itself, I don't think there's a track that's shorter than 4 minutes. We get that full sort of experience, you know. Some of the tracks are like 5.5, 6 minutes even. Yeah,
so my band are amazing, and we've been hitting the rehearsals, getting ready to be touring, to be doing the shows, because the album, we want to honour that as much as possible and give that live experience and just evoke all the feelings for all the people whilst we're performing it live. So yeah, big up my band as well, because we're going to be hitting the road next year.
Watch this space.
Yes, I'm excited.
Now, I think everything we've spoken about sounds like you've been really, really busy for the last few years. But somewhere you've managed to find time to do other things as well. So not only have you become a radio presenter for BBC Radio Wales, I believe that you've also sort of been involved in some presentation work on TV as well.
Yeah.
How do you fit this all in?
I think I'm quite an organised person, I'd like to think. So everything have its slot in different places. So I feel like as long as I manage my it's time skills, I guess. So as long as I manage that correctly, everything can flow. She says.
Yeah. And the role as a radio presenter, that all sort of kicked off from, I think you did a one-off Christmas special, which I remembered listening to with my family, and it was like just great to sort of listen to some of the Christmas classics with, you know, other sort of like music from other genres as well, and that sort of led into a weekly show. Yeah,
so that actually came about from a tweet. A couple of times I'd done interviews with people, and they said, I think you could do some presenting, and I was like, well, I love a chat, so that could work. And then I tweeted 2000 so it'd been just over a year since I started on radio. It would be year and a half. Christmas time. And I tweeted a couple of months before that saying, I'd love to have a reggae-based show on BBC Radio Wales, and loads of people shared it because I didn't realise a lot of other people wanted that to happen too, so I was happy for that. And then the boss saw it and said, come in. So kind of called my bluff, but I was very excited too. And he said, I'd heard your name a little bit, and I just think now is the time, if you want to try, do you want to do a Christmas special? And they were really supportive of that, and I had the first ever full-length reggae show for Radio Wales that they've ever had. And I loved it so much. I just enjoyed bringing music to people, sharing good vibes. If you're having a bad day, I hope your day is just so much better. Just after listening to the show, I hope it gives you just good vibes, you know? And then they said, do you want to cover somebody? So I covered someone twice, and they said, maybe just on your own show. So yes, I've had that for just over a year now, year and a bit. It was a year, April the 7th. And yeah, so also the cover for David Rodigan on One Action.
I was just going to say, July 2023, you took the big hot seat of Sir David Rodigan.
Yes, that was very scary, but also very positive. David is an actual legend, and really supportive as well. So yeah, I give thanks.
Well, it sounds like there's loads of plans happening for the rest of 2023 and beyond as well. So we're definitely looking forward to that. In closing, I mean, what do you want your listeners to get from listening to Windrush Baby? What is it that you're hoping for them to take from this album?
I really want them to just have a musical experience and a journey that kind of takes them outer. And hear every single layer that's gone into it, because there are a lot of layers, and not even just the vocals, the stories, the musicality, and the vocals obviously as well, because reggae is so important to us, and we really wanted to make sure it was 100% authentic reggae. So I hope people get that from there, on the journey, and hopefully then they come to the live shows too.
Perfect. Well, look, I want to congratulate you and RoryStoneLove for creating this fine piece of music that's been created, and we're definitely going to be looking forward to more works from the two of you together as well. A closing message to all the people that have supported Aleighcia Scott to date, and your fan base is growing day by day. What have you got to say to them?
Thank you. Honestly, big ass, because I wouldn't be sat here if people didn't support me and didn't listen to my music. I'm hoping we get to go on an even bigger journey, and thank you so much for tuning in, because again, I just would not be here if people didn't support what I do. So I'm thankful every single moment of the day.
Cool. Well, look, keep up the great works. Big thanks to Sarah and all the D-Vibes crew as well. And we look forward to seeing you live on stage somewhere in 2024.
Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Reggae interviews. Word sound power.